Hi, we're here again at Discount Water Softeners to talk about the unboxing and installation of our Fleck 5600SXT water softener system. When you receive your Fleck water softener system, you will receive it in either 2, 3, or 4 boxes, depending on what size system you ordered. When unboxing the resin tank for your water softener, you want to be sure that you have either an assistant to help you with the unboxing because your resin tank is going to be heavy. To unbox it, you want to simply lift up on the top of the box. The box will be banded, so you will need to cut the banding off. And it's probably best to cut the side of the box out to make sure that you can pull the tank out without having to lay it down. Once you've fully unboxed your system, you want to make sure that if you've received a 48,000 grain size or smaller, your system will already have all the media inside. On 64,000 grain and larger, you will receive a funnel along with a cap for your riser tube so that you can add the additional resin into your tank once you have it in place. You will add all of the additional media sent with your system to the tank. Inside the brine tank with your order will be all of your small parts as well as the control valve, bypass, and any options that you ordered. Next, we're going to show you how to make the connection from the control valve to the resin tank. If your system requires that you add more media, you will need to add your media prior to installing the control valve. Before installing the Fleck 5600 control valve to your tank, you want to make sure you install your upper screen. To do so, you're going to slide the upper screen into the underside of the control valve and simply turn a quarter turn till it clicks into place. Once in place, you can lubricate the outer O-ring for the control valve before you tighten down onto the tank. To make the connection of the control valve to the tank, you're going to need to possibly center the riser tube inside the tank before sliding the upper screen and control valve down onto it. If it is slightly off center, it will self-correct after the first regeneration. You're going to need to hold the power cord up while you twist the control valve down. You're going to continue to screw the control head down until hand tighten. Once you reach hand tighten, you're going to further tighten it down to a half turn past hand tighten. You can brace the tank and grab the meter assembly and tighten down the rest of the way. You're now ready to make the connection of your bypass. All of the Fleck water softeners that we sell come with a stainless steel bypass. By pushing the bypass straight onto the back of the control valve, you will then move your clips into place and incrementally tighten each side down equally to ensure that the connection is secure. If you over tighten these connections, you will crack the meter assembly. Be sure to only snug up the connections. There will be some play in the connection once the bypass is attached, so be aware that that is normal to see in your installation. After your bypass is installed, you will also receive a drain line hose barb fitting that has a 1/2-inch hose barb fitting on the end. If you decide to use our drain tubing option or purchase locally some 1/2-inch stiff wall drain tubing, you can put some Teflon tape on this fitting and screw it into the control valve. If you elect to not use the hose barb fitting, you can directly connect hard pipe connections to this control valve. When you purchase the Fleck 5600, if you opted to purchase the Quick Pro connector kit for do-it-yourself installation, you will also receive 2 male-to-male connectors. It is recommended that you use thread compound or pipe dope to make your connection from metal to metal threaded connectors. From there, you're able to connect our Quick Pro connector kit, where you can either use thread compound or Teflon tape to make your connection to the supply and to the return. You want to make sure, especially on copper, that there aren't any sharp edges or burrs on the end of your copper that could pierce or cut the O-ring on the inside of the quick connector. To make your connection, you're simply going to push this up into your plumbing until it bottoms out, and then make sure you can't pull down on it. You're also going to want to make the same connection to your outlet side of your system and make your connection the same way as you did on your supply line. On our Fleck 5600, the drain line connection is a hose barb connection that's 1/2 inch outside diameter. We offer the drain hose connection on any of our Fleck water softeners in a stiff-walled drain tubing that will slide right over the hose barb fitting. It is recommended that you add a hose clamp onto this fitting for secure connection. When you purchase your Fleck 5600 system, you will receive a Brine line connection kit in a small bag like this. To make your connection, you want to first slide the brass nut onto the tubing and the securing ring next in this orientation with the taper towards the end of the tubing. You can then insert the ferrule, the brass ferrule, and the screen into the ferrule. Push the tubing all the way in till it bottoms out. Push your securing nut in place and tighten down, and then tighten further with a wrench. Pull on the tubing to make sure that you have a secure connection and it doesn't come off. For your brine tank assembly on your water softener, you want to make sure that you make your connection through the sidewall of the brine tank. On some of our models, you will have a standoff, and on other models you might not. But the process is the same. You're simply going to feed the tubing through the wall of the brine tank and into the brine well. If you loosen the securing nut on the safety float assembly, you'll be able to slide the tubing directly into the fitting until it bottoms out and tighten down the securing nut. Once that compression is made, you won't be able to pull the tubing back out. Always check the tubing first before you complete your connection to ensure a secure connection. Upon the first startup of your water softener for your Fleck 5600, you want to make sure that once you turn your water back on and you go to rinse your system, you want to make sure that the system is in bypass, and you're going to push the regeneration button and hold it in for 3 seconds. Once the regeneration starts, you're going to want to turn the bypass slowly to about 1/4 of the way open to allow the water to come in at a regulated rate so that the rinse does not push all the media up into the tank. Once the water is flowing to the drain and starts to run clear and there's no more air trapped in the tank, you can open the bypass to the full service position. This will allow the system to completely rinse off any fines or discolorations found in the resin. To start a manual regeneration, you're simply going to push and hold the extra cycle button until the motor turns on and it starts a backwash. With the Fleck 5600, one key thing to remember is if you want to get soft water on your first regeneration, what you can do is simply add at least 40 pounds of salt to the brine tank, along with 5 gallons of water, and allow the salt and water to sit for at least 6 hours. That way you'll form a complete brine, and when you do your first regeneration, you'll actually get soft water. Next, we're going to talk about the programming for your Fleck 5600. The only programming you'll need to do for the Fleck 5600 from Discount Water Softeners is in the user programming mode. All of the other parameters are preset for you. You will only need to use the user mode programming to set your hardness and time of regeneration.
All you have to do is simply push the up and the down arrows at the same time until you see DO14. That's your day override. If your water softener does not regenerate based on gallons, within 14 days it will regenerate anyway. We highly recommend leaving it at 14 days so that your water softener regenerates at least every 2 weeks. Going any longer can lead to issues. Next setting is your regeneration time. Most everyone would want to have a 2 a.m. regeneration time. That's the least likely time you would be using water. If you need to change it because your schedule is different, of course you can change that by using the up or the down arrows, but it is set at 2 a.m. coming from the factory. The next setting is your H setting, which is your hardness. This is a number that is almost certainly going to have to be changed when you receive your system. You're going to program your hardness to whatever your water hardness is coming into the home. If you also have iron in your water, you're going to add 5 to this setting for every part per million of iron that you have. So if you had a hardness of 20 and your iron is 1 part per million, you're going to set your hardness number to 25. And if you had 2 parts per million of iron, you would set it to 30. But if your hardness is different than 20, obviously you're going to add it to the number that you have for your hardness. Reserve capacity is 150. That is good for pretty much most size homes. Reserve capacity is basically an additional 150 gallons of soft water that you will have left on your size system even when you get to 0. So when the meter reads 0, you actually really have another 150 gallons of soft water that fits most homes, anywhere from 1 to 5 people. And then back to the time of day. Something to note here is this other number of 1050. That number is going to change according to what your hardness is and your capacity is of your system. So once you program in your hardness, that number, let's say, is 1050. Every gallon that you use, it's going to deduct from that display. So it's going to just switch from time of day to number of gallons left until regeneration. So that number is going to change. And then once it regenerates, it'll go back up to the number that you're going to start at each time a new regeneration is completed. Thanks so much and have a great day.